bootleg podcasts, made for everyone, by anyone. You are listening to The Rating is Right, a game show podcast based around the films you love and their ratings. Think the price is right, with a lower budget, less Bruce, and no prizes. Introducing your host, Ian Crowe.
It's the rating. It's the rating. Rating. It's the rating. It's the rating.
Hello and welcome to our first official episode of The Rating is Right. So before I introduce my co-hosts, let's just explain how this is going to work. Quite simply, my co-hosts will be guessing the ratings of a series of films, including whether they are higher or lower than the previous one. They'll be getting 1 point for a correct guess of higher or lower, an additional point for whoever is the closest, and a whopping 3 points for anyone lucky enough to guess the rating bang on. The current winner will guess first in each round to give the other contestant an advantage and a chance to catch up. The winner at the end of the episode will have the honour and privilege of giving a recommendation of a film that takes their fancy. Now, that's sorted, let's meet my co-host. He is the guy who looks like he's a Tory voter but actually votes Green Party. It's George!
Hello. I am ready to wipe the floor with Owen. What a build-up.
Next up, we have the guy who looks like he's just come out of the Hills Have Eyes. It's Owen Cox.
Hello, good evening everybody. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Let's do this. In our first official episode, we will be in a galaxy far, far away. That's right, we'll be guessing the ratings of the Star Wars films. So boys,
hell yeah.
What's your initial thoughts on that straight away?
I'm going to wipe the floor with Owen. Last Jedi, here we come.
Owen looks a little bit uneasy on this.
The force is strong with this one.
I like this. So you feeling confident, Owen?
I'm now feeling very confident, Ian.
Ooh.
I'm feeling controversial, Ian.
Wow. This is why you're on the podcast. It's full of controversial
I'm ready to
comments.
upset the listeners. I'm ready to upset the listeners to episode 1.
Let's get cracking. So the first film on the list is The Phantom Menace. Now, remember, this is from 0 to 100 on Metascore. So as this is the first film, I just want you to kind of guess a number. So no high or low at this point, just to kind of get the game started. So, George, you can go first.
Yes.
What do you think the rating of The Phantom Menace is on Metacritic?
Phantom Menace, is that 1999?
Yes, it's late 90s, The Phantom Menace.
I didn't actually see The Phantom Menace in the cinema.
I did.
I know. I missed it.
Fraud.
I think I was I wasn't nerdy enough when I was young. I was young and cool.
That's the biggest lie I've heard.
So, Phantom Menace, I still don't think it's a very good film, but I have friends and I know people are very, very fond of it.
I have friends too.
I think... Don't lie, Owen. I reckon it is... I think it's like high 70s. I think it's 70... I'm going to do 79.
79, okay. Owen, what are your thoughts on The Phantom Menace in general?
Unlike George, I'm a real fan, and I saw The Phantom Menace at the cinema.
Well done. Yes, I don't see you with me. Was this your because it might sound like a stupid question, but The Phantom Menace wasn't actually the first Star Wars film I saw at the cinema, because I saw the re-release of the trilogy at the cinema.
Alright, showing your age.
Released. I know, I really am showing my age. It actually only came out about a couple of years before when they announced Phantom Menace.
When Ian was 15.
Still had my Star Wars Phantom Menace duvet set though at 15. Well, I actually did have it, but I wasn't 15. But was this your first Star Wars movie at the cinema, Owen?
It must have been, as far as I can recall, anyway. it's probably one of my first cinema experiences, I think. Phantom Menace. Was it 99, like George said?
99, yeah.
So I would have been 5, maybe 6.
Yeah. Did
Yeah,
you say
yeah.
it was boring?
Boring.
Did you say you found it boring as a 6-year-old?
As a 6-year-old, it was like 90% trade talk and 10% swinging light.
Yeah,
But I think
swords.
as a 6-year-old at that age, you don't take into account the whole political nature of it. You take in the pod racing, you take in Darth Maul, like you take in Qui-Gon Jinn being the worst Jedi of all time.
A bit of Jar Jar Binks.
Bit of Jar Jar. I had a Jar Jar Binks toy.
I
Is
had
it
a
the one
Jar
that
Jar Binks
dances when
toy.
you press the button.
No, it was just like an action figure that I just had. It didn't make any noise. It was...
Mine dance. You push a button, it dances.
I had a Jar Jar Binks head, which was like made of rubber, and then it had like a long rubber tongue attached to the mouth. Do you remember them?
Is this going to be like a?
It's not a sex joke. No.
I think this clearly shows the class divide as kids. Owen had he had a rubber head of Jar Jar Binks, where George had a dancing version of Jar Jar Binks.
Or just required batteries. So you want my review score in?
Yeah, what do you think the Phantom Menace rating is?
We've got a lot of Star Wars films to get through, so I'm going to be quick on the first one.
Okay.
Critically, I think a lot of people were starved of Star Wars content at this time, so I think it would have been reviewed favourably, even though it's not a particularly great film. I'm going to say 80, slightly higher than George.
Slightly higher than George. Okay, so I'll say George is the closest, so he gets 2 points. You were actually very generous with your ratings for the Phantom Menace. It's actually on 51.
Wow.
Whoa!
I don't know if you remember. Obviously, you probably wouldn't have known or at the time, but it wasn't really reviewed or received very well by the critics.
Ian, I was
yes,
6.
Box office.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously at the time, in terms of the box office, it was huge, massive hit. The toys made loads of money, but in terms of the critics reviewing it, they did not like it very much. It's very, very.
See,
average.
I think I enjoyed it more because I probably spent 90% of the film smashing 2 figurines together in the crowd, and then just remembered the glow sticks hitting each other at the end.
So with that, George takes the lead, and he gets the chance to go first with the next film. As you will know, is Episode 2, which is Attack of the Clones. Which I will
Best of
say,
the prequels.
I will probably say it's worse than The Phantom Menace.
No, it's the best of the prequels.
No,
It's my
Revenge of the
favourite
Sith.
Oh.
by
Revenge of the
far.
Sith is the best of the prequels.
Get him off the podcast, Ian.
Where's the boot out button on this?
Yeah.
End the call.
Yeah, exactly. It was the first film. It was the first Star Wars film I saw in the cinema.
Oh, okay.
And I just
that's
remember
unfortunate.
loving it. Like loving a bit of Jango Fett. It was the best. So good.
I just think that the acting in Attack of the Clones is actually worse than The Phantom Menace.
Yeah, but you're not watching it for the acting.
I know, but if you're trying to think on like a critics or what they're thinking in terms of a rating of a film, I would say the acting is worse. It's a bit boring, Attack of the Clones. There's good moments, whereas I feel like The Phantom Menace does have some fun elements to it. That's only changed my mind over time. I always thought Phantom Menace was the worst, but I now say
The ending of Clone Wars is sick. Like in the arena, and then it kind of expands into that wider battle, and you get Count Dooku doing a bunch of flips.
Natalie Portman.
A CGI model ever. And yes, Natalie Portman.
Is that the woman she's in all white?
Yeah.
Say no
She
more.
falls out of the carrier.
I think that's
Keep it
when, So, George, you get to go first. So, just a reminder, Phantom Menace was on 51. So, was Attack of the Clones higher or lower?
I mean, personally, I think it should be way higher. But I know I am alone in that opinion that Attack of the Clones is the superior of the prequels. It's definitely going to be higher. But it can't be that high. So I'm going to say probably we're looking at a 57.
57.
Yeah, we're going to go 57.
Okay,
Lock it in.
he's locked in. Owen, you've now got a kind of an idea now of where kind of George has gone. What do you think? Do you think it's higher than 57 or lower?
What, Star Wars Attack of the CGI? Awful film. I'd go as far as saying it's possibly the second worst Star Wars film. It's got to be the second worst, even including Rogue One and Solo. We'll get to that later.
I would say, Rise of Skywalker is the worst, personally. But
okay, well, what did George give it? 57?
57, yeah.
57. I'm going to go... Do you know what? I'm going to go really low. I'm going to say it plummeted. Judging by Phantom Menace scores, I'm going to say this was even worse and they were going into it expecting it to be bad. I'm going to say 45.
Oh, so you're going lower than Phantom
Yeah,
Menace?
45. Put it in the mud.
Ooh. Okay,
Ooh.
so you are incorrect, Owen. George,
Filthy.
you are right. So that means obviously you get 2 points because you were the closest.
What was it?
It's 54, so only three higher than the Phantom Menace.
These scores are rough.
So George, you went very far off actually, to be honest. But
See,
you are
it's 'cause it's the
taking.
superior of the prequels.
I would
keep telling you.
say it is. You are
George's got
incorrect.
bot farms. He's review bombing it.
So, as you now know, obviously with episode 3, which is the next movie, it's The Revenge of the Sith, which personally I've already said is the best by far and away of the prequels.
When you said Revenge of the Sith, your eyes got wider when you said Revenge of the Sith. I could see it in your face how much you enjoy it.
It's not
Your
the only
face
thing
lit
that wider knowing. I really love this film. In terms of like watching the prequels, when I feel like I have to do a bit of a binge, I feel like I'm kind of having to get through the first.
When you're
one and the
obliged
second
to.
one. Well, I'm obliged to. I have to. But then I get to Revenge of the Sith, and I think this is worth it because I feel like it does encapsulate and kind of finishes off that trilogy really well.
No, you can't say that. You can't say it finishes it off well because it finishes with Darth Vader going, "No."
Okay, I will say that is probably one of the worst scenes in cinematic history. But take that was like 5 seconds out of the film of like a nearly 2.5 hour rated movie. It's a great film. The no part is bad. Like it's actually like I want to turn my TV off every time I see that.
Okay, well I have a question. Is it worth the 4 hours of trade discussions to make it to Revenge of the Sith? Is it that good?
I feel like Attack of the Clones could be cut, and so could Phantom Menace, so that Revenge of the Sith could be longer, or just by its length.
This is just slander.
I knew this would cause so much, so many issues already. We're all at the point where we're not even on talking conditions at the moment.
I think George owns a load of Attack of the Clones merch, and he's just trying to big the film up so that the price of the merch goes up. I reckon he's got a load of toys from his childhood.
Yeah.
I'm
trying to use my influencer status to boost my profit.
He's got shares in Attack of the Clones stock. That's what it is.
He's got 500 copies of the Blu-ray. He's trying to flip them.
I just remember coming out of the cinema and being so oh my god, that was the best thing I've ever seen. And I'm fairly certain I was not fussed about Star Wars before that point. And then I saw that and I was just like, I need to watch all of these now. And yeah, it really switched me onto it.
Have you watched it as an adult?
Attack of the Clones?
Yeah.
Of course I have.
Okay.
I'm judging you more now.
As an adult, I think Revenge of the Sith is a better film. But I think Attack of the Clones has it's got that classic nostalgia, oh, I remember when I first saw this. It brings back all those feels, and I hate sand as well.
Rose-tinted glasses.
It's so coarse. So
I feel like George, you're backtracking a little bit. You're backtracking on your love for Attack of the Clones. Own it.
I just don't want to divide the fans, you know.
He's sitting on the fence.
Yeah.
He is sitting on the fence.
Yeah. Sorry, Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith. So again, George, you get to go first. So bear in mind, Attack of the Clones was 54. So is Revenge of the Sith higher or lower than Attack of the Clones?
I mean, I will take you to what's the polite way of saying common folk?
Working class.
I'll take your guys' kind of opinions, and I reckon it's got to be higher. I don't think it was that high. I reckon 60 is a good guess. Not too high.
Oh.
It's higher, but we're not getting ridiculous. It's still not a good film.
Okay.
You're getting ridiculous with your scores.
Says Owen, who went lower for Attack of the Clones in comparison to the Phantom Menace.
Because they're both terrible films. They're good. They're interchangeable score-wise. Revenge of the Sith is like by far head and shoulders the best of the prequels.
Yeah,
That's just like the general consensus amongst everyone who likes the films.
It's fact.
George is falling for nostalgia, mate. He's
I
looking
don't
back with
know-
rose-tinted glasses. He's got like a memory attributed to when he saw the film, and that's like judging his scores and his
I would
opinion.
say that George saying that, I don't think I've ever heard any other person in my lifetime say that Attack of the Clones is the best of the prequel trilogy.
Is he winding us
You are
up? I think he might be
definitely a
winding us up.
first.
Yeah, it's just a bit. It's just a bit for the podcast.
He's a wind-up merchant. That's what he is.
It's
So
baiting
George,
us.
you've gone with
60, yeah.
60. Yeah. Owen, what are you thinking?
Oh, I'm going way higher than that. George is tripping. George has had too much juice this evening. He's full of sugar. That's weird if you haven't seen George chugging away at his juice, right?
It's just to be clear to all the listeners, it is cider he's drinking.
Yeah, I'm a real man.
He's a real man. Yeah. Well, I've got squash.
I don't know whether Revenge of the Sith is so good because the other two are so bad. What do you think, Ian? Do you think it stands up on its own?
I think it does stand up on its own, personally. But if you was to then say, is it good? Yeah, is it good because of the other two? The other two, the quality is very low. So the bar's not very high for it to... It's not very high. There's not very high expectations to that point, I don't think. If you were to show Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones to a complete newbie, and they would most likely probably go, that's not great. They're not good movies. I'd be like, well, watch Revenge of the Sith, and they're probably going with the lowest expectations and be very surprised by how good Revenge of the Sith is. That's how I would probably explain how it is. But I do still think as a standalone movie, it is a good film.
Here you go, I've got one. What did George go? 60?
He did go 60, yeah.
Revenge of the Sith is over choreographed, I would say Revenge of the Sith is the fight scenes, even though I do enjoy them. And do you know what my score is going to be?
Okay, I'm intrigued.
66.
I like it.
Do you like that?
I do like that.
I
That's
like
very
that. I like that, Owen.
Can't be mad at that.
No, I can't be. I'm actually really impressed by that. So, Owen, you are the closest. You both right with being higher. Owen, you were only 2 out on. It's on 68.
Oh damn!
Nice.
So you were very, very close. So you've got 2 points for being the closest, George. You get the 1 point because
We're out of prequel territory.
Yeah.
we are out of prequel territory, but now we're going into not the typical kind of territory we would normally think of going to New Hope, because technically in chronological order, the next film on the list is Solo, a Star Wars story. The very controversial production, which it was eventually released. Have you two seen Solo?
Yeah.
Oh, you
I
have?
loved it.
I saw it in the cinema.
It's so low.
I paid cold hard cash to go see it.
Yeah. I actually think it's okay.
Yeah, me too.
I thought it was alright as well.
Yeah, it's not too
Yeah,
bad.
there we go.
I don't know if people who are listening don't know the story behind Solo, a Star Wars story, but the production side of the film itself was an absolute kind of nightmare. Directors Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who did 21, 22 Jump Street and Into the Spider-Verse, were originally kind of attached and started filming, but then were subsequently fired about 5-6 months into production because apparently they were just winging it. They didn't actually really have a script. They got everyone kind of like just making up lines as they go. And Kathleen Kennedy, the big boss over at Lucasfilm and Disney, was just like, we don't like this. We're going to fire you and just start again, bring in Ron Howard, and then he can pick up where you've got and go from there. So it does eventually end up being a Ron Howard movie, but it would have been interesting to see what the Lord and Miller's version would have been like. It would have been quite
Probably a mess, I imagine.
Probably an absolute mess, but I love them as directors. I think they're hilarious. So
Yeah.
it's a shame that we never saw that. Owen, you said you liked it. I'm surprised. I feel like you're not a big kind of fan of the Disney Star Wars
I'm
movies.
not so much, but I did like Solo. I didn't love it. I went into it with low expectations. I think that was what it was. I didn't go into it expecting a lot, so I came out of it almost like, it was alright. Serviceable.
Yeah. I was exactly so. I went in thinking, "Oh, this is going to be trash," but I feel like I need to experience it. And I say, "I'd be like, come out." I was like, "Oh, actually, I had a lot of fun with that. I enjoyed it." So, and I thought the guy, I always forget his name, who plays
Is it
the young Solo.
Aldrich or Alden?
Aaron
something.
Aaron
Aldrich.
Yeah, we'll get. Actually, I need to find out his name actually because it's actually really annoying.
For a film podcast, I feel like we should get certain things right and the names of people.
I'm probably going to absolutely butcher his name, but I will try and say it.
Is it not like Alden Eichenreich or something?
Yeah, it's
What?
Alden Eichenreich.
Yeah, see, smashed it. Look at me go. Bonus point. Bonus point
Fantastic.
right now.
No bonus point for you.
Was it
You're
4-2?
already in the lead. It's 5-2. 5-2.
Oh my
currently.
god.
So, George, you get to go first this time. So, higher or lower for Solo Star Wars story, with bearing in mind Avengers Difference 68. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think now we are fairly happy with it because we had such low expectations. I don't think critics go in expecting shit and they're like, it wasn't that shit, so let's bump it up a little bit. I think that it's going to be lower than 68. I'm gonna lowball. I'm gonna go 61.
61. Okay.
Yeah.
Owen, what are your thoughts?
You're going to be shocked, but I actually don't have that many thoughts on this one. Which I think is a reflection of the film, really. I'm just going to go straight in and say 55. I don't think there's anything more that needs to be said about this film. It's okay. That's about it.
So you both going lower, which you are both correct on. George, you were the closest. You said 61. It's actually 62. So only one out. So you were the closest
62.
at that time. So
Generous.
just to recap on the scores. George is on 7. Owen is 3.
Oh,
So
catch up.
Owen has a lot to catch up on, but we've got plenty of time.
Now the listeners don't know this, but there was a trial episode, and I wiped the floor with Owen in that episode as well. So really, I think this is just the pattern that every episode is going to go.
I said it before, and I'll say it again. You don't celebrate friendlies unless you're Tottenham.
I would say sorry to the Tottenham fans, but I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry at all.
You're not welcome
right.
here.
No, you're not welcome with your dusty trophy cabinet. Anyway, do you guys know what the next film chronologically it would be after Solo: A Star Wars
Rogue One,
story?
right?
Yeah,
It would have to be Rogue One.
Yeah.
Rogue One, which personally I think is Disney's best Star Wars film as far. Would you go as far as saying
I
that
love
as well?
it. I think it's a great film. Yeah. And personally, I'm really looking forward to the Andor series as well.
That's
looks
soon, and end of September, Disney
Yeah.
Plus. So I'm intrigued by that as well. Owen, do you feel like it's the best Disney film that's come out so far?
Sorry, my stomach just made a noise. You'll have to edit that from where he said that.
Maybe that could be one of your new sound buzzers or something.
I buzzed myself in. Irritable bowel syndrome. I do like Rogue One, but I think it lacks rewatchability, Ian.
Wow.
Because
Big
I watched it at the
statement.
cinema and I thought it was brilliant, and then I watched it again when it came onto streaming about 6 months after, and I didn't have the same kind of love for it after. I still enjoyed it. I still think it's the best of the Disney Star Wars films, but I do think it lacks rewatchability.
Yeah, so you are all right. It is Rogue One, the next one. So Solo was 62, so Rogue One. So George, you get to go first as you are currently leading.
I mean, I think it was great. I do understand what I was saying about the rewatchability part of it because, obviously, and spoilers, you know everyone dies. Because, yeah, you watch it once and I think that was a really big thing. You kind of go into it thinking everyone's going to die because they don't turn up, like, in the rest of the film. But then, I think, like, in the moment of watching it, it's really cool. Like, it felt like a war film at parts, but then a lot of kind of, like, espionage stuff, which was great. And I think the Andor series is going to do that really well as well. So I'm going to jump right up, and I'm going to go to 87.
Wow,
Ooh,
okay, it's a
that's
jump,
high.
isn't it?
Because I think it's a really good film, and I've watched it again, and I still think it holds up. So, yeah, 87.
I am on a. It was weird because when I saw it at the cinema, I was really excited to see it, and I saw it with a group of mates, and I was the only one who didn't like it. On my first initial watch, I just couldn't click with it. I thought it was really boring. I may have had a bad day, and I rewatched it when it came out on Blu-ray, and I loved it. I was like, obviously, I was clearly having an off day, but I didn't like it when I first watched it. I do think it has rewatchability though.
Well, you would say that because your whole opinion is based on the rewatchability value. You're almost just patting yourself on the back there.
I am actually the last 2 years. My rewatchability rate has just completely plummeted. I am watching new films only for the last couple of years since COVID. So up you, Owen. That is not true for me at the moment. So
I want to know if George thinks Rogue One is better than Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, I do. I think it is. Yeah, because the prequels I count as just that shitty trilogy.
So you've gone very high then,
yes.
George.
I think that is the that is the way to go. Listeners, you don't know this, but Owen is holding up a Northampton winning 1-0 notification on his phone to the camera.
I didn't know if you could read it because it was backwards. I was worried that you thought I was just holding my phone up the window.
No, 1-0 away against Wickham, I saw. Was it Wickham?
No, it's AFC Wimbledon, actually.
Oh, AFC Wimbledon. Oh, there we go. There you go. So, any Northampton fans out there, you know when we're recording.
There's only one of them and it's on this podcast.
So, George, just to remind everyone, what was the racing you went with?
I think I said 87.
Oh, 87. Yes, that's
He did
right.
say 87.
There we go.
87. Okay, Owen, what are your thoughts? Do you think he's gone too high?
I think he's gone too high. But then again, like I said, the first time you watch it, it's brilliant. But then I think it's difficult to watch it again and have the same level of enjoyment. So I would say that going off of a critic watching it in the cinema for the first time, I'm going to say 82. 82.
82. So slightly lower than George's guess. You are both right with it being higher. I think you both very weirdly. I don't know why. Oh, I suppose I understand why, but it's a lot lower than what you think. It's actually on 65.
Oh, wow.
So lower than The Revenge of the Sith, and only 3 higher than Solo: A Star Wars Story. So not as high as you thought it would be. So
Maybe they rewatched it and reviewed it.
So I'm shocked, and also bear in mind that these reviews would have been from a first-time critic watch as well, most likely. So the whole rewatchability element would have been out the window, I suppose.
That is insane.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw it myself. I thought it was very
That
well
is
received.
quite low. Maybe it was a case of audience loved it and audience loved it and critics didn't like it. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah,
As well.
I definitely think it's a hugely popular audience movie. I don't really hear the critics talk about Star Wars movies in general anyway, but now we kind of know it's not rated particularly highly, but still higher than Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, which is good.
It's just for Rogue One.
So, quick recap. Owen has gained some ground. He's on 5 points. George still in the lead with 8. So, Rogue One finishes off how basically A New Hope starts. So that is the next film on the list, and as a lot of people probably would say, is the greatest Star Wars movie out there. Would you both agree with that statement?
What? I've never heard anybody say New.
I know a lot of people who say New Hope is the best Star Wars movie. I mean, personally, it's not for me. It's second, but a lot of people say New Hope is their favourite.
I swear to God, if you've got The Last Jedi first, I'm never doing another episode.
Not long till we get in there.
Have you not seen my Last Jedi tattoo, Owen?
Empire Strikes Back is my favourite because we're now in the original trilogy. Now we're in that territory. The OG Star Wars movies. Empire Strikes Back is my favourite. George, you said that was yours as well. Owen, is yours The Last Jedi?
The Last Jedi.
My favourite Star Wars film is probably a tie between. I don't call it A New Hope. I call it Star Wars. I refuse to call it A New Hope. My two favourite Star Wars films are Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, and I have them tied. I can't choose between the two.
I feel like that's
It's me being indecisive. It's
you
not
have to
acceptable.
make
I know
a
that.
choice.
I'm not making a choice, Ian.
Alienate the fan
Look,
base. Come on.
We don't have ties in this game. There's no ties. It's either one's better or one's
Okay,
not.
well, I find Empire Strikes Back a more enjoyable film to watch, but I
There
love
we
Star
go.
Wars for the way it sets the universe up, and I think you have to give it credit as like, what would you call it? You wouldn't call it a pilot, would you? You'd call it an introduction to the Star Wars universe. I think it just lands so perfectly. I think as far as like series go, series of films, trilogies or whatever, you can't ask for a better first film in a trilogy, really, apart from maybe Alien.
George probably won't agree with that,
I
but
don't.
George is not a fan of Alien.
To be fair, I will
So-
say
For
it
God's
does.
sake, what are you a fan of?
I think it's just I do agree. Alien does set up the universe well, but I just think it's not a good film. It's badly acted and it looks shit. But that is for a different episode. I
think we've lost about 95% of our listeners. With that comment there, George.
I
It's
think we
fine.
lost
Just
him at
team
Attack of the
Owen.
Clones.
But let's quickly move on from George's terrible movie taste. So George is still in the lead, so he gets to go first again. So Rogue One was surprisingly on 65. A New Hope. What are your thoughts on that, George? What do you think the rating is?
This is
for
really
that?
hard because I wasn't alive when critics were reviewing this film. You say Rogue One was 65, yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
I feel like it has to be higher on the hype alone, but I don't think it's that high. I'm gonna go for a cheeky 69.
Oh, you fool.
He's gone for 69. So
I'm gone for 69. Yeah,
It's going higher.
it's just too alluring.
We've had 69 and all the 66 today. I think that's the end of the podcast, really. We can't get any better than that.
No,
Owen, what are your thoughts? Do you think it's
My
higher
thoughts
or
are
lower?
69 is a fucking disgrace. First swear word of this episode.
but remember,
I
this
love
is
Star Wars.
critics. This is critics, not audience. So
Well, they're wrong if they gave it 69. They shouldn't be allowed to review films with those kind of opinions. I love Star Wars more than I love my mum. Sorry if you're listening, mum. I had the original trilogy on VHS box set, you know, in the little sliding case
Oh,
thing that it
yeah.
came in with
My
like the
brother
gold
had that.
back. Yeah, I
Mm.
had them on VHS, and I watched the first two like, you know, when you're a child and you just watch the same film like 4 times in the same day. Yeah, that's how fanatical I was about the original trilogy. I think that's why I'm so passionate about my hatred for the sequels. I feel like it takes away from my
they're
childhood.
robbing from you personally.
Yeah, they're robbing from me.
You're the people that has caused Ryan Johnson to lose his job at Star Wars.
Do not mention him on this podcast again. It's banned. And if we have comments open on Instagram, can we shadow ban the words Ryan and Johnson? So you want my score?
Yeah, let's take your score because you're clearly going to some kind of fanatic, kind of
I'm about-
forensic frenzy about Ryan Johnson. Of how
I'm
much you
shaking
hate
right
him.
now.
You are. He's literally shaking.
My hands
You
are
say you think
trembling.
it's high, but what is your what's your score?
90. And it
90?
me 90.
Jesus.
Yeah, 90. It kickstarted the most successful franchise of films of all time. It's got to be high.
90.
It's got to be high.
Like I
Well,
said
I'll
earlier
tell you-
on, films
I
that
tell you what-
open franchises don't get much bigger. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Ian, but I'm very passionate about this subject.
No, that's absolutely fine. But I will just interrupt you and break the news that one of you is spot on.
If it's 69, I'm unplugging my headphones right now.
It's Owen.
Oh, what?
It's 90. Yeah, it is very highly rated. by
hell yeah.
critics. I think I had some excerpts of some
69.
reviews of it.
I never
let's
thought it'd be
see
that
if I can
high.
Find what their kind of thoughts were.
Oh,
on it.
blown
Let's just
away.
find it.
I feel robbed.
Blown away. Let's just find some of them because I think
Like
just to
Alderaan.
kind of give people an idea. Bear in mind, this film was from 1977. It was the film that basically redefined the science fiction genre. and it was it's kind of one of the first big blockbusters as well in terms of like a summer blockbuster. And after that, every production company across the globe refocused all their films going towards sci-fi to make it like Star Wars, because they knew that people were out there wanting to see it. So for years and years upon after that, people wanted to kind of remake Star Wars in a sense, just via their own film, I suppose. So some of the things that people were saying is that it's one of the greatest films in the 20th century. It's a unique movie that doesn't rip off others, but it does pay homage to other inspirations. Most exciting picture to be released in the year. And someone said it's the most visually awesome work to appear since 2001: A Space Odyssey. I don't think you can get much higher praise than that in terms of...
Well, did anyone say they love it more than their own mother?
Tell you what, let's get you some press accreditation, get you on Metascore, and you can put your own review on there. 100, it's better than my mum. So with that, Owen, you get 3 points. So you have bridged the gap. George's on 9, Owen on 8. So it's very close. You were behind by quite a fair bit not long ago.
It's a quickie bumped on for George.
I knew he needed a leg up, so I was like, you know what, I'll lowball the offer, because clearly I think it's the best film. Clearly, I don't think Attack of the Clones is the best film.
Clearly, because you only thought it was only 15 higher than Attack of the Clones. Clearly,
I cannot believe it's 90. That's insane.
90,
does George get docked points for being so far out? I think he should be deducted a point for being so wrong.
I would say
if you're 20 out, I feel like docking a point isn't a bad thing.
I feel like that was probably one of the worst guesses that we've had so far.
I thought it'd be one of those things where it comes out, a bunch of sweaty nerds love it, but it's nothing like, because I watch it now and I don't look at it going, this is such a groundbreaking, amazing film. I watch it going, yeah, it's alright. It's a pretty good film. Pretty good for some sweaty nerds.
But for people at the time, do you think in the year that came out,
it's relative, isn't it?
It must have been just mind blowing, and it just
visually
exploded.
Groundbreaking as well.
Yeah, exploded the likes of Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford. It was just insane.
Max Rebo.
But yeah, exactly.
If you watch the Corridor Crew, not to shout out a different podcast and channel, but if you watch like the Corridor Crew breakdown and the visual effects for it, it is amazing how they did all of the effects and things, like all the miniature work and things like rotoscoping was incredible. So I do give it props for that, but yeah, 90.
George just hates films from the 1970s, clearly.
Yeah,
especially sci-fi movies.
If it's before I'm born, I just don't want to know.
He just hates Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
Have you seen Prometheus?
I really like Prometheus.
What did you think of Prometheus,
I thought
George?
was absolute trash. It was absolute shite. It was another example of people not being able to run away from falling things properly.
Just
running
run sideways.
In a straight line. Yeah, exactly. Just run sideways. But I quite liked Alien Covenant. I thought that was more enjoyable.
Would you like me to do the fingering? Is that what he said there? He's holding the flute. Hold on. I'll do the fingering.
Well,
I burst out in the cinema when he said that. I felt like such an idiot because I was the only person who laughed.
I was actually working at the cinema when Prometheus came out, and I remember the trailer coming out and the hype for Prometheus at the time. And I worked the midnight shift for the midnight showings for Prometheus. It was like a sold out screen. And all these people just walking out going, oh, that was fucking shit. Oh my God. And I was like, oh my God, no. And I was had to go like, oh, was it any good? And they're like, no, it's not good. There's no fucking aliens in it. And I was like, what? So I then went into Prometheus knowing there was like no aliens in it. And I was kind of preparing myself for it being really bad. But now I kind of like the film knowing that there's no aliens. Because I went in with low expectations.
It's called Prometheus. It's not called Alien.
I know, but I think people were expecting this is like a prequel to Alien. There's going to be some kind of alien action. No.
Well, they should have read the title, shouldn't they?
The very end.
Them.
Yeah.
So why do you hate Ridley Scott so much? I don't know why George hates Ridley Scott so much.
I'm sure there will be an Alien episode where we can discuss.
We could discuss Alien
my
and George's
feelings
hate of Ridley
towards
Scott.
Ridley
Well,
Scott.
do you like
In
the
more
original
depth.
Blade Runner?
I've never seen it.
Oh,
Oh,
I know. I'm sorry.
Silence.
I'm sorry to everybody.
that's a good time to quickly move on, I think, because George just disappointed us. So the next film on the list is The Empire Strikes Back, which is personally my favourite Star Wars film and always will be. George, you are still in the lead, just. So is The Empire Strikes Back higher or lower than A New Hope on 90?
But this really puts all of my scaling out because I wasn't going above 85 for anything.
Yeah.
So now I feel like I need to adjust. Empire Strikes Back is my favourite Star Wars. Last Jedi, very, very close second. Owen has taken his top off. He's preparing to bare knuckle box.
shadow box in the kitchen.
He's currently trashing his kitchen.
Yeah. I
Insult
think
to
it's
cinema.
amazing. I can't imagine it's higher than 90 though, but I really like it. I'm so tempted just to go bang on the same. I'm gonna go. Everybody prefers it. No,
I
you
feel
said
like
that
George
lots
is
of
feeling
people
the
don't.
pressure here, Owen.
He's
I am.
bottling it. I actually think he's bottling it.
He's feeling the heat.
I was really confident. I was just like, I got an early lead. It was great. I was like 5 points ahead, and then all of a sudden, just one stupid guess, and it just undoes everything.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go lower, but I'm gonna go down to 89. I'm going one lower. That's
Ooh.
it.
One lower. Okay. Owen, this is a great chance for you.
The thing with this podcast is, with me being up against George, is that I'm always fighting in an uphill battle, whereas George is punching down. So if George loses, he's losing to a moron, and if I win, I'm like it's momentous.
I only said that because you were like 7-2 down or like 5-2 down at one point.
I would say your knowledge of films is probably better than mine, though, Owen. Generally,
Maybe I'm not so good with actors. I'm good with what I've
I just
seen.
use big words.
I'm good with what I've seen, whereas I'm not good with like pointing people out and saying who they are, like actors and directors wise. But I have seen a lot of films. I think that's mostly because of my mum's like big into sci-fi and stuff like that. That's why I've seen like Blade Runner and the Star Wars films and the Aliens films. My mum's always been quite into sci-fi. But so you want my review score, Ian?
Yes, please, Owen.
Owen bringing himself back from a tangent. He's learning. He's developing.
I've gone full
He's
circle.
playing the
I've come all the way
game
back
and
round.
also hosting the game as well. I love it. I'm just taking the back seat here.
Empire Strikes Back. It's higher. Obviously, it's higher. I'm gonna say 92 straight away.
Oh, okay.
Any thoughts that I have on the film, apart from brilliant, magnificent, sensual? I really enjoy it.
Didn't you say you said you prefer A New Hope? Didn't you?
I see them as equal, but Ian put me on the spot and made me choose.
I kind of peer pressured you into that, didn't I, Owen?
Yeah, like I love Star Wars, the original, and I also love Empire Strikes Back, but I can't differentiate between them. I think they're both brilliant. I just think they almost lend to each other. They're just... what more can you say that's not already been said?
That is very true. So, Owen, you've gone higher with 92. George, you've gone lower with 89. Sorry, Owen, but George is right with it being lower.
It's lower?
Obviously.
It is lower. It's
my
lower
gosh.
on 82.
82?
That's a drop.
8 lower
That
than
is shocking.
New Hope. Which means, unfortunately, obviously, Owen, you were incorrect. So George takes the points. So he has gone on to 11. As he was the closest. So George, you are 11-8 up now on the
Wow.
score. So that moves us on to the last film of the original trilogy, The Return of the Jedi. What are your thoughts on Return of the Jedi? Because I hear very mixed things on this. I know some people who say this is their favourite Star Wars movie, but I also know some people who go,
Name them.
it's actually probably one of the worst. I probably
Name and
shouldn't.
shame.
But I know some people who say that it's one of their least favourite.
It's an advertisement for toys, is what it is.
It's basically the Star Wars film that was made to sell toys, effectively, wasn't it? Really.
Although the first act is brilliant with Jabba's palace and the Sarlacc
Yeah.
bit, and when
Yeah.
Lando does his when he falls in, that is the best part of the trilogy. I think when he falls in, he goes, rewatch it. You'll be stunned that you missed
What's
it.
really interesting is that clearly Owen is making such a high-pitched noise that his microphone is not picking it up at all.
Is it a bit like the Wilhelm scream?
It's when he falls in the Sarlacc pit and it grabs his foot and he just lets out a little screech. And I never picked up on it as a child. And also, I believe this is the first film that has Max Rebo in it, the real star of Star Wars. He puts the star in Star Wars.
Right, tell me who Max Rebo is. 'Cause
You
I have
don't
no
know
idea.
who Max Rebo is?
No, I
Did
don't.
you watch Boba Fett?
Yeah.
Ian's face. You know the little.
If you saw who Max Rebo was, you would know who Max Rebo is.
Is it a pig?
He's the little blue elephant who plays the drums.
It's like a blue elephant, yeah. He's really cute.
It's awesome.
If you go on starwars.fandom.com, then it's basically a Wikipedia site for Star Wars characters, and you can look at all of the information on Max Rebo. Basically, you said that he was an elephant, but I will actually look to see what he actually is.
While we're
looks like a
clarifying
clanger.
this, can I ask that what is his first appearance? I don't think he's in the cantina scene. I think he's in Jabba's palace. He's in the band.
Let's have a look and see. His first, appearances. Here we go. It doesn't actually say. It doesn't. Yeah, it is Return of the Jedi. His first appearance. It looks like.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of other kind of like animated series as well before that.
He was in Boba
but-
Fett when they blew up the bar, and people were really worried online that he died in the explosion, but he didn't. He survived. For the people out there that don't know, he survived. He lives on.
Well, do you know what he actually plays? He plays the Red Bull organ, and he is a male Ortolan named Cyrilian Fantelli. Probably didn't say that correctly.
I just call him Max Rebo for short. So I
But apparently, a little bit of biography on Max Rebo.
I love this tangent.
I know, I love it. Do you know what? He spent his younger years in pursuit of food, and he worked in a flamp house where he played for his dinner every night. That's sad, isn't it?
What for you, Ian?
What a life!
Inspiration.
So yeah, a bit of
That's
a
true
tangent there
artistry.
about Max Rebo. But again, George, so you get to go first because you are still in the lead. Return of the Jedi, higher or lower than Empire Strikes Back on 82? I do feel like I'm so glad I picked Star Wars just to go off another tangent because I feel like it's very hard to pick the ratings of these films. I was so shocked when I was writing them down. Like, really?
I mean, it's stumping me. Well, I say it's stumping me. I'm whomping Owen at the minute, so I can't really say
Nice.
But I think it's lower, and I'm gonna go pretty low. I think it's very meh as a film. Like it's not great. It's not amazing. It's not like awful or anything like that. But yeah, I'm gonna go down to. I think I'm gonna go 71.
71.
Yeah.
So not much lower. 11 lower than Empire Strikes Back, but still quite low, I suppose.
A hefty drop.
Hefty drop. Yeah. Owen, again, another big moment for you.
The thing is, I don't love the film, but I really enjoy the first act with the Sarlacc pit and Jabba's palace. I feel like that's a big part of the original trilogy. It doesn't really fit into. It's almost like an extension of Empire Strikes Back, isn't it? As like quality. This film introduces some of my favourite characters though, like Max Rebo. You've got Wedge Antilles returning at the end. You've got Lando Calrissian when he blows up the second Death Star and lets out his little woo. Lando has some great parts in this film. Actually, he has the little screech in the Sarlacc pit, and he has the woo at the end. He really got the good lines. I'm going to go. What did George guess?
I said 71.
I'm going to go 72.
Bastard.
So, George, you went 71. Owen, you went 72. So you are both correct with it being lower. George, you are the closest. So you get the 2 points. Owen, you get the 1. It's actually lower, a lot lower. It's on 58.
Ooh.
Oh wow.
So
Harsh.
it's
That's
lower,
harsh.
lower than Rogue One, lower than Solo, lower than Revenge of the Sith, and only slightly higher than Attack of the Clones and The Phantom Menace. Just to give you a bit of trivia on Return of the Jedi, do you know? Could you name kind of 3 famous directors who were very, very close to being signed on to direct Return of the Jedi before it eventually went to Richard Marquand?
Ridley Scott.
If only that would have been brilliant if that actually happened.
Yeah.
No.
Imagine the film.
Well, I would say these 3 directors are very different in their way. One of them I could see would have fit perfectly.
I don't know
The
who
other two,
directed
maybe not so much.
the first 2. I don't know any of the directors. I only know George. I know George was... Did George direct Star Wars?
It is George Lucas, yeah.
Which is surprising, really, because he's
So-
not known for his directorial skills, is he? Looking at the
I mean, I
prequels.
suppose at the time he was the kind of sole person behind the whole thing. So I think he was the only one who could have directed the first film, but then he stepped back with Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. But the 3 directors who were very close were Steven Spielberg, David Lynch,
What?
and David Cronenberg. Were all
Ooh.
considered to direct before they went with Richard Marquand.
Oh, imagine the body horror if Cronenberg had done it.
That would
God, the Sarlacc pit would be gnarly.
That would have been absolutely
Insane.
awesome. I mean, I'm not too sure whether it really would have worked, but I
can't imagine how many toys it would sell if it was Cronenberg's version.
No, yeah, maybe not. There have been a lot of dream sequences which wouldn't have maybe necessarily worked.
Who directed the original Dune film? Was that David Lynch?
David Lynch, but he says it's not his movie. So
Okay.
on paper,
Was that
it's
before
David
or
Lynch,
after
but
Jedi?
That would have been after, I believe. Because I'm pretty sure the closest one out of them all would have been, I think, David Lynch. But Dune was 1984.
Okay.
Return of the Jedi is 1983. So he probably wouldn't have ended up doing Dune if it wasn't for him kind of not doing Return of the Jedi. But that brings a close to the original trilogy. We now move on to the Disney trilogy now, and the New Hope rip-off, which is The Force Awakens. So when you first saw The Force Awakens, were you on that hype train of thinking, this is it, Star Wars is back, brilliant movie, or were you just like, this is a rip-off of The New Hope, I'm not liking this?
It was a soft landing.
Stuff like, do you think it was a safe film for them to do?
Absolutely. It was a soft landing. They wanted to kick it off with a film that would a pleasing film, like a people-pleasing film. So they just treaded the same beats of the first one, didn't they, to set up the universe? I don't know what you think, George. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked it, and I think it's just a people pleasing film. It's like, here's this thing you remember, here's this thing you remember. Oh, and it's like you said, it's the same beats. Like, it's hard not to like it when you like the original so much, but then it's also kind of bringing it in for young, whatever they called, Gen Z. What are we? Millennials?
We're millennials.
They're Gen Z.
What are you, Ian?
Yeah. So
I'm a millennial.
Are you?
Bullshit.
Just about, surely.
I'm not a boomer.
They didn't take any risks, did they? That was the problem. They obviously
No.
Han Solo dies at the end. Spoilers, but we all knew Harrison Ford wasn't sticking around for all 3, didn't we? Come on.
Yeah, he was begging to be killed off even in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
So
and then everyone wanted to see Luke, and didn't see Luke until the last shot of the film, and it ends. I really liked The Force Awakens when I originally saw it, but as the trilogy has now been wrapped up, I now don't look at it with the same eyes anymore, because I just think it's a non-event now, because I feel like the new trilogy it doesn't do anything. It doesn't actually answer many questions. It's rushed. It's messy. So I feel like that trilogy now is just kind of like, it just doesn't even need to exist now.
I do think that The Force Awakens kind of sets it down that bad path. And I know Owen will disagree with what I'm about to say next, But Force Awakens is obviously it's just a retread, and then The Last Jedi comes out, and it's so different, and it's such like a hard veer off that obviously people were like, "No, I don't like that. That's out of my comfort zone." If Force Awakens was on the same lines as Last Jedi, then you'd be like, right, new trilogy, we're playing with different things here, we're going down that way, and I reckon The Last Jedi would have been received a lot better. And then there would be no need to course correct with the third film.
It's two
Rise of
different films,
Skywalker.
isn't it? Really, it's two completely different films. They don't follow the same kind of storyline. They almost object to each other. Those two films. It's like the directors wanted to stick it to each other. That's how it comes across, anyway. Completely opposing ideas.
I think the issue is the big heads at Disney who clearly didn't have any kind of mapped out kind of storyline of what they wanted from the trilogy, and then bring in directors and go, this is what we want to do, can you bring that vision to life? And they clearly just went, right, okay, JJ, you'll do the first one, do what you want to do, let's get Ryan Johnson in next, what do you want to do for the second one, take it from what you've got from there, and it just doesn't work.
The guy who was meant to do the third one, what's his name?
Oh, Colin Trevorrow.
Yeah.
Didn't he do the film with the boy who dies and his mum ends up killing his neighbour for abusing their daughter? He lost it because of that film, didn't he?
Yeah, it was the film. He did a film which I have completely forgot what it's
The
called.
Book of Henry.
Book of Henry, which completely flopped.
Yeah.
And then supposedly got fired because of the poor performance and that, and they panicked. Panic stations at Disney.
That's
and
not like Disney.
And got in. Let's get in JJ, and to take over. But apparently, you can read Colin Trevorrow's original script for The Rise of Skywalker, which wasn't actually called The Rise of Skywalker. You can read it online. So if you want to see how it potentially could have turned out, you can do online. But let's get to the scoring. George, still in the lead. The Force Awakens, is that higher or lower than Return of the Jedi on 58?
I feel like they were setting up a trilogy, so regardless of what the rating was, they were always going to make 3, and they were always going to go ahead with it. I feel like box office alone kind of would keep that going. And I don't think it really mattered what the critics said. I think the critics wouldn't like it because it is such a retread, so I am going to go lower. And I'm going to go to 54. I'm going 54.
The suspense there. I love that.
Yeah.
54.
There's a lot of thought that went into that one.
Okay, Owen. Again, your thoughts. What do you think the rating is for Force Awakens?
55 in, I think the rating is. I'm going straight in with my score. I'm playing tactically because my next score is already pre-arranged.
Okie dokes. Right. Well, I can say that you are both incorrect.
Oh.
It's rated 80 on Metascore. A lot
Is it actually
higher than Return of the Jedi. 2 less than The Empire Strikes Back, which I find baffling.
Yeah, but let's be honest. With hindsight, it wouldn't be 80, would it?
I mean, I'd probably not now, no, but at the time, it
mad.
seems to be very well received. I mean, I do like it. I think a lot of the kind of ratings and the high praise it got was mainly down to Adam Driver, because people absolutely loved Adam Driver. I would probably say he is the only good thing about that new trilogy.
I'd agree.
Yeah, I'm glad you agree because
you don't like Leia flying in space.
That's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. Some of the things that people said that they liked about it is that apparently it gives new life to a franchise of hope, resilience, courage, and family that's been missing from theatres for far too long. Force Awakens does what the original films did well, and it's also its own thrilling thing. Force Awakens honours the series, takes in exciting new directions.
See, this is the type of bollocks nonsense that I can't get on board with the critics.
It's corporate speak.
Because they're being like such a fresh take, and no, it's not. It's A New Hope again. It's just the same film. It's like carbon copy.
Yeah,
nuts.
People loving BB-8. Favourite droid, hands down, supposedly. And apparently Daisy Ridley being a commanding presence, which I would disagree with. I do like Daisy Ridley, but she's definitely not the kind of person who can lead the kind of movie like that. It's definitely.
Do you know what was quite disappointing? They built Gwendolyn Christie's character up quite a lot in the trailers.
Oh, Phasma.
Yeah, and they didn't really. She was just completely like underused, wasn't she? She was like hot for Game of Thrones at that point as well.
They also completely destroyed John Boyega's character Finn.
Yeah.
He's very, very vocal these days about his thoughts on Star Wars and Disney for absolutely trashing his character. But unfortunately, you both are incorrect. So 0 points to you both. So we're on our penultimate film, which is.
Does Owen not get a point for being closer still, or we just go?
No,
to 0?
because you're both incorrect. So no
it
points.
sucks to be you, Owen.
Oh,
Still in the lead.
So
Here we
still
go.
lead. You're just incorrect. So you get no points because
Yeah, but I was
closer.
closer.
Higher. No, but you were both lower, which was incorrect. So that means you get no points.
Oh,
So that part of it doesn't activate because you're just wrong.
stupid rules.
That's wrong. Well, you agree on the rules. So next film on the list is The Last Jedi. I feel like this is going to be controversial. Higher or lower than Force Awakens on 80?
The last fucking nerve,
80.
more like.
George gets to go first. We'll allow Owen just to build up his hatred even more.
I'll be short because I know Owen won't be. For once in his life, he won't be short. Wait. So I think I personally really like Last Jedi, and I think it is the best of the three.
Ooh.
Because at least it was doing something new. I don't agree with everything in it, but I think it was trying to do something that wasn't just sell toys and retread the same old shit. I don't think that's a popular opinion, but I think maybe critics would have maybe leaned with me. I'm looking at Ian's face, and that's making me think no.
No. I'm
stick
sorry.
to
I'm
my
just
guns.
reading at the same time. So
I think that I reckon. Because I'm trying to think why Rian Johnson lost his trilogy, because he was going to have like prequel trilogy or something, wasn't he? So
yeah, he was signed on to do an original trilogy, but
like an Old Republic thing.
I think just something completely new, which was going to tie in a little bit from what he was doing with The Last Jedi. But I think with the kind of mixed fan reaction with The Last Jedi and how Rise of Skywalker turned out,
Generous.
I think they just scrapped it and then have just gone in a completely new direction with Taika Waititi doing an original Star Wars movie coming out in the distant future.
Yeah. I reckon it's fans that ruined that. I think critics still were alright with it. I am going to go slightly higher than 80, and I'm going to go to 81 because I'm going tactical. But I think it's so much better than Force Awakens because it is so much more original. And I'm hoping that the people that funnel smoke up Disney's ass will be agreeing. But yes, that 81 lock.
Disney, are you listening? George has just said it. Last Jedi is a good Star Wars movie. Now, just leave the podcast now because Owen's about to talk.
Yeah. Now
Owen can talk and give us his general thoughts. So you always say that you don't like The Last Jedi, but your honest feelings. Why? What is it about The Last Jedi you don't like?
It's anti-Star Wars. It almost it's a slap in the face to the original series, and it's Rian Johnson. He's like a late 2000s edgelord being like, how could we make Star Wars as un-Star Wars? It's just complete garbage. And I'm usually a bit of a cinema snob. Like, when people whisper or rustle in the cinema, I give them dirty looks because they deserve it. But this film is the only film I've ever had an audible reaction to in a cinema. I booed out loud. And I felt vindicated. When I booed out loud because people around me looked at me as if to be like, I agree with that reaction. It was absolute shite. And I've never watched it again. I'll never watch it again. Star Wars from then on forwards was fucking dead to me. I haven't watched The Rise of Skywalker. I refuse to watch it. I reluctantly watched another Rian Johnson film, Knives Out, because I didn't know he was the director when I watched it. And I begrudgingly enjoyed it once I found out. I hate everything about it. I hate the way it just leads you down one path and then just completely does a 360. I hate the way it tries to make out things are important that are not important. it just throws away any plot threads from the first film. It's like the directors were at odds with each other. It's like they had a vendetta against one another, and Rian Johnson wanted to stamp on everything that J.J. Abrams had created in the first one. Maybe if the first one would have been more like the second one, I would have enjoyed it more. But I went into the film with such high expectations, and I came out of it just completely bemused. I wasn't even angry. It went on forever as well. It was like, oh, this is the end. No, this is the end. No, this is the end. Oh, look, here's some dice from a fucking split-second scene in the original Star Wars film that nobody remembers. Even not the most fanatical of like Star Wars fans remembers the stupid dice that Leia has. Oh, it's just Ian, I'm getting annoyed. Okay.
So safe to say, Owen, you love it.
I fucking hate it. I hate it so much. And I don't even...
Is there any part of it where you were watching thinking, actually...
No, and do you know what really fucking annoyed me? When Leia ran past Chewbacca to hug Rey.
Fair.
Yeah. That's
oh my god. And the fucking bit where she floats in space. Oh my god.
Yeah, no. I am with you. When I saw that, I was like, oh no.
It was like,
no.
Do you not think there was a nice message with this whole? And like I said, I don't agree with all of it. And Leia running past Chewie to hug Rey was a bad move. But do you not think like some of it, like the idea that it doesn't, like, not everybody is born into being special. Like you can just be special. Like I really like.
Okay, well,
like the whole that Rey's parents are nothing.
Owen was born special, but he can't float through space like Superman.
I like the idea of what you're saying, George. I don't like the application. Let's say that.
Yeah, I feel like also because that was her last film because she died during the film or as it just finished.
Yeah, but you can't pin that on Rian Johnson.
No, but I feel like there was some kind of they had to give her some kind of tribute or give her something to show that she's not normal.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like there had to be some kind of like Jedi element to it, and I just feel like it's the wrong. I don't mind that they did it, but I feel like it could have been done better.
Can you confirm if she ever saw the final edit? Please tell me she
know.
didn't. Please tell me she didn't die knowing that was her final appearance in Star Wars.
See,
that's an interesting one.
She's in the third one, right? Isn't she in there as like a Force ghost?
Yeah, she disappears. Doesn't she die? Doesn't her character die?
I don't remember. I've never rewatched it. I'm so angry.
She dies in the second.
No, wait. She dies.
She disappears in the third one. Yeah, I can't remember.
No. Luke dies in the second one, doesn't he? Oh, don't even get me started on Luke and the fucking milk.
So she wouldn't have seen it because she died after filming Star Wars, after it just wrapped. So I doubt she would have seen any kind of cut. Obviously, clearly not a final cut. So I doubt she would have seen The Last Jedi.
That's probably a good.
Can I go on? I have further
opinion.
points of the complete character assassination of Luke Skywalker. Just completely destroyed his character. He's like ever the optimist. Like,
come on, he drinks that milk. Do you not love that scene?
Oh God, I'm having flashbacks, to be honest. The thing is, when you asked me originally what I thought of it, I didn't even consider the Luke stuff because there's just so much to be annoyed about and dislike. And then you just mentioned Luke then, and I got flashbacks to the whole. Can we move on? I'm giving it 0.
I was about to, I feel like me and George are online counsellors during a therapy session for Owen.
The only thing that's
he's like,
ever come
can
close,
we move on from my trauma, please?
The only thing that's ever come close to disappointing me as much as that film is the final series of Game of Thrones. And I can even still, with the final series of Game of Thrones, I can take elements of that I enjoyed and appreciate them. With The Last Jedi, there's nothing in it for me. Nothing at all. There's no redeeming qualities to that film whatsoever.
So George, you still? Oh, actually, you went with 91, didn't you?
I did go with 91.
Owen, what are you going with?
I'm going with 0 out of principle. I'm not throwing my pride.
Going with 0 out of principle.
I'm going with 0. I'm throwing the score out of principle here. I'm going with 0.
Sorry, George, you said 81, not 91. That's my mistake.
I said 81, yeah. One above.
So, George, you are correct, but being higher. It's on 84. It's higher than The Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
The Empire Strikes Back.
Vindication.
It is so far the second highest rated Star Wars movie of all time.
You had that line prepared.
Oh.
You're actually,
I actually just,
you're trying to be that
I
player.
just, I do you know what? That was just that's off the tongue there, Owen.
Have you noticed how much my eyes are twitching?
I saw them twitching beforehand. Every little mention of The Last Jedi, you'd be like, kind of like going. So going into the last round, George is on 15. Owen is on 9. So I feel like
I mean, I've got it in
he's
the
got
bag.
it in the bag. But this is for any kind of you can salvage some points here, Owen. Close the
What
gap.
I will say, Owen, if you get it bang on, Owen, you can have 10
Yeah.
points. You can have all the
You
points.
do.
okay.
Right, write that down in.
Right, I've noted that.
Yeah.
So
Note it.
the last film on the list is the film that Owen has still yet to see. Is the Rise?
That's why I'm pretty confident.
the Rise of Skywalker. So is that higher or lower than The Last Jedi in '84, George?
Boo, and
Yeah.
it's so bad.
Bad.
It's awful.
You've not seen The Last Jedi.
It's definitely,
Honestly, Owen, if you saw this, you'd give this minus.
yeah, it's so much worse than The Last Jedi, and I really like The Last Jedi, and clearly the critics agree, because we are all people with impeccable taste.
You like the Clone Wars,
it's
Attack of the
awful.
Clones. Don't stick it to me about The Last Jedi. We're even.
It's awful, and as you kind of said earlier, like Finn's character completely just shat on. So yeah, awful film. I'm gonna drop lower, and I'm gonna go all the way to. I'm gonna go down to 50.
50.
I think it's no bueno.
Owen, the film that you haven't seen, what do you think the rating of The Rise of Skywalker is?
Can I just say, I'm not one of these weird fanboys online who's like, oh, you destroyed Star Wars, blah, blah, blah. I really liked the characters of Rey and Finn. I really thought it was interesting to see, like, the character development of Finn from being a stormtrooper to realising that he'd been brainwashed and stolen as a child. I liked the idea of that storyline. I don't know the final product because I haven't seen the third film. And I enjoyed the idea of Rey's character as well, but like I said, I haven't seen the third film.
I mean, just to say, Finn has no real end product.
I know that from the talk around the film.
Rey kind of does, but it's such a cliched,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
dropout. Like, it's such a, yeah. It's, watching it in the cinema, I was just like, what is this? Well, I couldn't believe what I was watching. It's just like getting always random people who've seen Star Wars who aren't actually big fans. They're like, right, you've got a choice to make a Star Wars movie. Anything you want goes. Anything you want goes. Okay, let's bring back Palpatine. Let's bring him back.
I do blame.
It's fan service, isn't it?
I do blame people like Owen though. Yeah, well, it's people like Owen who complained about The Last Jedi, and then they were like, right, make all of Owen happy. Here's everything you liked from the other
Maybe I
ones.
should
Again,
watch it.
panic stations from Disney.
Yeah.
Panic. What do we do? Because they did have
Yeah.
Colin Trevorrow as the director, as we mentioned before, was let go. Supposedly his script is a lot better. John Boyega had a big interview with a podcaster recently, and he said that when he originally read it, he was very happy, and then he didn't realise it's now open on the internet to read, and he was very happy that it was. He said, I'd like to revisit that. So it seemed like the cast were a lot happy with how it was going to turn out. But eventually JJ came in and did the best he probably could with the time, and at least it wasn't an absolute disaster. Close to being a disaster.
How do you follow The Last Jedi, though? Like, realistically, like, where do you go from there? It was an impossible task to begin with. That's why I think the hype surrounding the film was like, it was like people were going to go see it, but nobody was like dying to see it, were they? Let's be honest. Everyone knew it was going to be a disappointment.
No, yeah.
All three films, they're so disjointed from each other. Like I haven't even seen the third one, but the contrast in the from what I've heard of the third one to the second one is so vast. They're almost like they don't seem like a trilogy. They just seem like almost standalone films, don't they? If you look at all three of them objectively, they're like none of them connect to each other. They're different ideas.
Yeah, they've got the same characters.
Yeah,
and that's
I
about
think it just echoes what we said before with just poor planning. they had no idea what they're doing. I think they just wanted to go, right, we'll do a nostalgic movie. Oh my God, it made so much money. Let's just, okay, we could do anything because people will just go and buy tickets to a Star Wars movie. It doesn't matter if it's actually any good or not. Which I then realised that was not the case. But George, as you are the leader and the eventual winner of this round, to round us off with The Rise of Skywalker, you have said it's lower. You went with what score?
50. Bang on 50.
Owen?
I'm going to go 68.
68. So you are both right with it being lower. It's on 53, so George was the closest.
Oh, I've crushed this episode.
Crushed it. So just to say, Rise of Skywalker is on 53, which is the second worst rated Star Wars movie.
Wow.
On Metascore, just 2 behind The Phantom Menace. Would you like to hear, Owen, some critic excerpts from their reviews and thoughts on The Rise of Skywalker?
I've got nothing better to do. I'm here. Read them off.
So this is from a magazine, and it says a sizable amount of the narrative of The Rise of Skywalker is spent specifically undoing what happened in The Last Jedi, and the result is a film that lacks forward momentum.
My problem is I struggle to articulate what I think about the trilogy because there's just so much to say, and we just don't have the time.
We need to have a whole podcast about The Last
Well,
Jedi.
I can't whittle it down.
Someone else said, I think The Rise of Skywalker was poorly directed, terribly filmed, clumsily edited, lamely scripted, and badly acted. So basically, bad across the board. But I'm going to end it on a positive note. Someone said, the real Leia, the one we fell in love with, lives on inside us as she always has. She still inspires us, amuses us, moves us, and we can visit her anytime we want at the touch of the play button. But you don't have to do it with The Rise of Skywalker. Watch the original trilogy, Angie Han from Mashable. So, to round up, Owen, 10 points. George absolutely smashed it, as he said, with 17 points.
Oh, I cannot believe that. Like, I had some fake confidence going into this, but Jesus, I'm gonna be living off this high for the next year.
So, George, as you are the winner, you get the privilege of recommending something that we should watch before our next episode.
I'm not watching The Last Jedi.
Rise of Skywalker. A group watch on Disney Plus.
Yeah, exactly. This is probably it's a very mainstream recommendation. It's an easy one to start with. I think everybody should go and watch Prey. Because it is phenomenal. It is a really good return back to decent Predator films. So if you haven't seen Prey already, go and watch Prey. It is phenomenal.
It's
great science fiction.
Return to good Predator movies. It basically goes back to the first Predator movie.
Yes.
And it's better than Predator 2, Alien vs Predator, Alien vs Predator 2, Predators, The Predator. Yes, it is the best one since the first Predator movie.
That's impressive
I
Predator
agree
knowledge.
with you, George.
Although
I've seen all the Predator films. Actually, I haven't actually seen the Shane Black one because I've heard it's garbage, but I can safely say it's probably better than that. That's a great recommendation, though, George.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, I know. It is actually a series of films that I've actually seen all of them, which is rare. Predators is also pretty good. But yeah, Prey is the recommendation.
Cool.
There you go.
Great recommendation. So that is the end of our first official episode on The Rating is Right. George, Owen, thank you very much for participating. Hope you enjoyed yourself, and we hope to hear from you soon.
It's the rating. It's the rating. Rating. It's the rating. It's the rating.
The Rating is Right podcast is hosted by Ian Crowe and co-hosted by George Robinson and Owen Cox. The show is edited by George Robinson. You can find the podcast on Instagram under the handle The Rating is Right, or you can contact the hosts on their email address, theratingisright@gmail.com, if you have any suggestions or want to discuss your thoughts from previous episodes. Thanks for listening.